はよう、こんにちは、こんばんは。
Welcome back to JFTN, Japan Fishing Tackle News. In this video, we'll be introducing a popular sea bream, snapper, or tai in Japanese, fishing method in Japan, known as Tai Rubber, or Tai Rubber. We'll go over the necessary gear, how to use Tai Rubber, and 3 key tips for successful Tai Rubber fishing, based on the experience of JFTN staff. First, what is Tai Rubber? Originally based on tools used by professional sea bream fishermen, it has been adapted to better suit recreational fishing. Nowadays, Tai Rubber consists of a colorful weighted head, known as the head, along with silicone, skirts, and ties that help attract fish. These are connected to hooks via an assist line, creating a Tai Rubber rig that anglers use for fishing. There are 2 main types, fixed head and sliding head. With the fixed head, the head and hooks are all set together in one piece. With the sliding head, the weight is threaded onto the line, while the skirts, ties, and hooks are separate. As the rig falls, the head drops first, followed by the hooks, which slowly fall behind. This slower fall, especially just before hitting the bottom, allows the skirts and ties to move naturally, giving the fish less reason to be suspicious and making them more likely to bite. Because of this, the sliding head is now the most popular option. The fishing technique with Tai Rubber is quite simple: drop it down, and reel it in. Essentially, these are the only 2 steps. However, fishing in nature is never easy, and while it sounds straightforward, there is a lot of depth to this method. Now, let's go over the gear used for Tai Rubber fishing. Like other fishing methods, you have 2 main options: spinning tackle and overhead tackle. Spinning tackle allows you to cast over a wide area, which is useful when the current isn't moving or if the boat's drifting motion doesn't align with the tide, making it difficult to control the angle of your rig. However, the downside of spinning tackle is that it's harder to control the falling speed of the Tai Rubber rig, and it can be tricky to know the depth if your line isn't color-coded. Another disadvantage is that reeling in tends to start slower since you have to close the bail after the rig hits the bottom. On the other hand, overhead tackle is better for vertical fishing, especially when you want the rig to fall at a specific angle with each drop. You can easily control the fall speed using mechanical brakes or thumb pressure, called thumbing, which also helps straighten the line against the current. This makes it easier to detect hits while the rig is falling. Additionally, overhead reels engage instantly when you start reeling, allowing for a quick retrieve after the rig touches bottom, reducing the chances of fish feeling any resistance. However, overhead reels aren't great for casting long distances, so they aren't ideal for covering large areas like spinning tackle. As for the rod, whether you're using spinning or overhead gear, a soft, sensitive tip is ideal to help detect bites. Many Tai Rubber specific rods come with a solid tip. If you don't have a specialized Tai Rubber rod, a slow jigging rod with a soft tip can also work. Since Tai don't usually hit aggressively, a soft tip helps avoid spooking them and allows you to feel the bite more effectively. I personally use overhead tackle. My main setup is the DAIWA Blast SLJ Air Portable AP63 MBS, a 2-piece rod designed for super light jigging with a solid tip. It features a sensitive Mega Top solid tip combined with a strong HVF carbon sheet and Blading X technology. This rod can handle up to 80 grams for slow jigging and up to 120 grams for Tai Rubber rigs. For the reel, I use the DAIWA KOHGA IC150HL, spooled with about 280 meters of PE 1.5 line. The KOHGA series is DAIWA's brand for sea bream fishing, and the KOHGA IC is an overhead reel equipped with an IC counter. The IC counter is especially useful for Tai Rubber fishing, as it shows you the line-out length, depth alarm, and retrieve, fall speed, all of which are displayed on an easy-to-read LED screen, even in low-light conditions. This reel also has an audible alert for every 10 meters of line, which helps you monitor how fast the rig is falling or how much you've reeled in without having to check the display constantly. I've been using this reel since its release in 2021, and thanks to its hyperdrive design, it's still running smoothly without any issues. Honestly, after using the KOHGA IC, I don't feel like going back to a reel without an IC counter for Tai Rubber fishing. Next, let's talk about the Tai Rubber rig. Here's what the overall tackle setup looks like for the Tai Rubber method. For both spinning and overhead tackle, since we often fish in waters as deep as 100 meters, I recommend spooling at least 200 meters of braided line. Depending on the size of fish you're targeting and the condition of the seabed, I typically use PE 1.5. If the seabed is less rocky or the fish aren't very large, PE 1 or PE 1.2 could be good options. In areas with larger fish or rough seabeds, you might consider using PE 2 for extra durability. As for leaders, I usually use a 2 to 3 meter length of 20 to 35 pond line, adjusting to match the fishing conditions. At the end of the leader, I tie on a Tai Rubber jig. I mostly use the sliding head type since I often fish in areas with strong currents. To deal with this, I attach a ball bearing swivel to the end of the leader, then tie a 50 cm Tai Rubber leader from the swivel, thread the head through, and tie the hook at the end. I also use a snap on the bearing swivel, which allows me to quickly change skirts, head weights, and colors depending on the situation. This setup helps keep the head and hook from drifting too far apart in strong currents, so you can still feel bites as the rig falls. On the other hand, when the current is weak, I sometimes lengthen the Tai Rubber leader to about a meter. This lets the rig drift more naturally in the water, which can be a great option in slower currents. Now, let's go over the Tai Rubber method while watching some actual fishing footage. As you can see, with Tai Rubber, the rig is typically dropped straight down. With an overhead reel, make sure to control the fall with your thumb to prevent backlash, applying light pressure as the line goes out. Pay close attention as you get closer to the bottom since you might get a bite during the initial fall. Once you feel the rig hit the bottom, quickly engage the clutch and start reeling. The key here is to reel in at a steady, constant speed from the start. Normally, you don't reel all the way to the surface. Instead, reel up about 10 to 20 meters from the depth where fish are marked on the fish finder. If you don't get any bites, disengage the clutch and let the rig fall again, repeating the same process. Drop, reel, and repeat, until a fish bites or until your line starts moving too far to the side. When the drift of the boat and the speed of the current differ, each time you let the rig drop, the line will start to angle more and more as it drifts away from the boat. If the line gets too far from the boat, you may run out of line or the rig will start moving nearly horizontally, increasing the risk of snagging on the bottom. In such cases, retrieve the rig and drop it again. For overhead tackle used in vertical fishing, the general rule is to drop the rig on the side of the boat where the current pulls it away. If you fish from the other side, the rig will drift under the boat, creating the risk of tangling with the boat's lines or motor, so be cautious. When it comes to bites, it's relatively rare for the fish to strike hard all at once. Often, you'll feel small nibbling bites as the fish picks at the skirt. Even if you feel these initial bites, the fish hasn't taken the hook yet, so keep reeling patiently. After a few light bites, when the fish finally takes the rig, you can begin the fight. However, since Tai Rubber hooks are small, avoid reeling in with too much force. Keep the drag below 1 kilogram and fight the fish slowly and carefully. If the hook happens to come loose, and it's still possible to let the rig fall again, you can drop it back down to entice another bite. Many times, the fish will bite again even after getting away, and since sea bream often travel in schools, even if one gets away, another might strike. And that's the basic fishing technique for the Tai Rubber method. Now, I'd like to share the important points I've learned during my fishing trips using the Tai Rubber method. 1. Start reeling immediately after hitting the bottom. When dropping the rig in Tai Rubber fishing, it's common for sea bream to follow the rig, watching it closely. If the rig stays motionless on the bottom for too long, the fish may lose interest, thinking it's not food. In my experience, I've never had a bite when I hesitated after hitting the bottom. As soon as you feel the rig hit the bottom, start reeling as quickly as possible. This is why I prefer using an overhead tackle for Tai Rubber. With an overhead reel, you can start reeling immediately after engaging the clutch, minimizing any unnatural pauses after hitting the bottom. I highly recommend overhead reels for beginners due to this advantage. 2. Find the right speed for bites. Tai Rubber is a simple method, which is why fall speed and retrieve speed are crucial. If the current is too strong and you drop the rig too slowly, it can drift too far, reducing the area you can effectively target. However, under most conditions, dropping the rig at a relatively slow speed tends to increase the chances of a hit. Sea bream often follow the falling rig, and in the case of a free-moving Tai Rubber Rig, they may bite the skirt as it falls or strike right after you start reeling. On the other hand, there are times when fish only react to the retrieve. In such cases, speeding up the drop and maximizing retrieve time can be effective. The retrieval speed itself is also critical, as the optimal speed for bites changes with conditions. Always observe the situation and experiment to find the fall and retrieve speed that works best. 3. Find the best angle of the line for bites. Along with speed, the angle of the line is important. When you first drop the rig, it remains relatively close to the boat, and the rig moves almost vertically during retrieval. This means the rig passes quickly through the target depth, giving the fish little time to react. However, as you repeat the process, the line angle increases as the rig moves further from the boat. With a greater angle, the rig is retrieved more diagonally, staying within the strike zone longer. In my experience, bites tend to occur more frequently when the line has some angle. However, there are rare instances where vertical retrieval is more effective. Pay attention to when bites start happening, and use an IC counter or multicolored line to track how much line has been let out before bites occur. This can help you determine the ideal line angle for that day. If the rig isn't drifting far enough and you're not getting bites on a nearly vertical line, switch to spinning tackle and try casting. Changing the angle of the line can sometimes result in immediate bites. How is that? These points are the fundamental basics of the Tai Rubber method that you should grasp first. Although the method is simple, it offers depth. You can experiment with not only steady reeling but also techniques like adding variations to the retrieve or even using a stop-and-go motion. Start with the tips introduced here, and enjoy exploring the Tai Rubber method. Especially when the fish aren't biting, it's important to think about why and how to change your approach. The thrill of landing that one fish after repeated trial and error is truly incomparable. I wish you all plenty of catches and bigger fish on your next fishing trips. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, we would really appreciate it if you could give it a like and subscribe to our channel. We hope our channel can help make your fishing experience a little better. Thank you for watching.